Hello! For Christmas we got the Zombicide Black Plague game, and it's a miniature based game, and this is a medieval version of the standard Zombicide game, which is modern. It's a great game, very fast paced, very clever, and we will be doing a proper review of it coming up. Every game that I have played so far, I have played Anne, the Battle Nun, and she is the most kick-ass of all the characters in the base set, bar none. Damn you, that was funny. I like the contrast she has between the armour and the cloth, and all the figures come unpainted, so this took me about a week to do, maybe a couple of hours at a time, and I sort of jumped around between a couple of ideas with her. Overall, I'm happy with how she turned out. I went with the dark sort of gunmetal for the armour, and then I did some basic highlights on the armour, and I was going to do red for the cloth because I decided that she was going to be really fashionable and out there, but in the end I decided that the game's sort of really dark and depressing. Like, zombies are everywhere and they multiply in some scenarios at a staggering rate, so she might not be out there, although I would like to do a sort of figure like her in a really bright colour. So I went with the dark blue and then highlighted it. I think it works. For a tabletop figure, I'm really happy with how she came out. You don't always want to spend ages on a tabletop figure because she's not a showpiece. She's never going to be shown like that. She's touched constantly, and so you want to use paints that are pretty durable, because when you do a showpiece, you want your colours to be vibrant but translucent. How you get the nice layers and that is being really thin. You do thin layers and build it up, but that can sometimes mean that your paint isn't as robust because it's had a lot of water, so using thicker, more solid paints are good for if you're doing a tabletop piece, but sometimes you'll see a drastic drop in quality by doing that. So it just depends. I mean, sometimes you're not. And an amazing painter, which I'm not, can manage to do great work no matter what. But typically, if you're going to do a tabletop piece, you want to make sure it's well varnished, because the varnish helps protect your paint, and that you're going to go with paints that are known to be more robust. Sometimes the higher pigment ones, like the P3 ones, are good. These are beautiful colours, but if you don't water them down too much, they're quite strong, because they're designed for a miniatures game as well. Privateer Press has several miniatures games, and that's their own paint line, and it's a good paint line. It's very solid, very high in pigment. In the end, I was quite happy. I wanted to mix her up. I used the gold for the sword. I wanted it to stand out a little bit different, so it wasn't just all steel. The danger you have when you do something like a knight is if they're using swords or maces or what have you, if they're metal, you're going to have metal of the armour, metal of the swords. And what you don't want is to have the sword and the armour to quite look 100% the same colours. The same shade rather. There is now luckily a whole bunch of steels out there. Now what I ended up doing was I did use the same colour for both, but then I used a lighter one on the blades to sort of highlight it and sort of add some extra sort of shading to it. So hopefully they stand out a little bit more than looking exactly like the armour. And then I did some pigments, dry pigments, powder pigments, over the bottom end of her sort of tunic and on the ground, and on parts of the lower armour. Not on the top. I left the top actually shiny. I wanted the top to be more shiny and cool, and sort of the lower area to be more dirty. So I was actually quite happy with how she turned out. I enjoy looking at her. She's a fun character to play. Each character has different abilities, not just in how they look, but what they can do. So it's good. I enjoy the fact they've done that. And you can buy extra characters now too, so it's an expanding game. But she's good fun, and these took the paint really well. And if you like zombies and you like fantasy sort of characters, I think the game's worth picking up. I wouldn't recommend buying the base set for the heroes to use in your D&D game. It's not that you couldn't. You could use any of them. They would fit very well into a D&D game. It's just we got it for $79, but a lot of the time it sells for $100. And that's a lot just for the 6 figures, of the heroes. They do release hero packs, which are about, I think, 14 to 30, depending on the one. And that's a much better bet. If there's a character in there you want for your D&D character, I'd suggest buying that rather than buying the base game. But if you're going to play the base game, absolutely get it. If you're a board game family, this is a good solid game. It's good fun. There's scenarios that take like half an hour, and then there's scenarios that can take 2 to 3 hours. It all depends on the size of your map. And because they're the tiles and they're flippable, you can keep making maps. There's a lot of scenarios out there. And it's just great fun. It's a lot of the streets are cobblestone and muddy, so I wanted to throw a lot more mud onto the lower tunic area, and leaving the top more colourful and vibrant, and the lower more dirty and messed up. But if you own the game, why not have a go at painting them? They're good figures. They take the paint well, and they're gangs are fun. I've got 2 of the zombies there to work on and one of the other characters. I'll definitely be doing more in the series, and as I finish them, I'll be posting them here. Thanks for watching.